Hello, friends and neighbors. I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, and this is your members-only Right Angle, the Backstage pre-production meeting for this week's episodes of Right Angle. And we've got some new neighbors, don't we, Bill? We've had, I know I've been getting emails from people who were saying, you know, they signed up for the first time.
Yes, largely due to your tremendous closing messages on the Bill Whittle Now.
I'm not fishing here, man. I'm not fishing.
No, they're fantastic. By the way, I'd just like to mention, for those people maybe hearing noise in the background, either there is a leaf blower outside the office or the left is coming at me with a battalion of the tiniest little tanks I've ever heard in my entire life.
There could be a leaf blower inside the office. It's a new method for cleaning the carpets.
The leaf blower is coming from inside the office.
Oh, I'll find the missing leaf blower. I will.
Oh yes.
Lame.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have some interviews coming up.
I have a very particular set of skills. So here's what we're thinking this week. We're thinking Scott Ott is stuck with a members only episode. So
stuck with? I think you meant to say honored with.
Honored.
Is the term I was fishing for? Yes. Honored to be the host of the members only show. And that means that incredible.
It's a tiny little Kursk outside my window.
Is it right outside?
Yeah, it's right. It's right out there.
You sure it's not like a hummingbird or something? Just the breeze from the 140 beats per second?
No, I think it sounds like the Florida mosquitoes, which are much larger than hummingbirds.
They eat hummingbirds.
I was at my brother's. It was after my brother got his doctorate and he got married on the same day in Florida. And he was going to at the time he was at the University of Florida. And we went to his house, which was out in the swamp and it had like a deck on the outside. And if you step out the door outside to have a quiet conversation, you're like, I think I'll go back inside where the rock and roll music and the people are screaming.
I think I'll go back inside where the burning coals and the glass shards are in my eyes. It's horrific. Ugh. Mark Twain talked about a big argument between which mosquitoes were the worst, Mississippi or Arkansas, and he said that somebody claimed that the Arkansas mosquitoes were worse. He said that he's actually seen Arkansas mosquitoes voting. Upon reflection, that may have been a tall tale. They may merely have been just canvassing.
Well, I have often referred, when telling this story to others, I've referred to the sound as a small appliance convention. I mean, you just when you step outside between the frogs and the various kinds of insects in that,
it's unbearable. I know it so well. I know it so well. It's just living torture.
So speaking of living torture, I'm going to be hosting 2 episodes this week.
That's the spirit.
One of them is going to be for members only, although I will tell you we violated the covenant just yesterday because we got so many requests from members to release Bill's members only episode called American Singapore last week that we released that one into the wild. And so that's already getting a lot more views on YouTube and Facebook and here at BillWhittle.com. So thank you.
It didn't go viral. It went feral.
It went feral.
You got to take what you can get. Social media, the boot is real.
For some reason, I get this image of, I think it was William Hurt in Altered States, loping down the street at night, like swinging one arm like a simian. He's
coming down the hall trying to...
10 years we've been doing this show. This is our first Altered States reference, I bet you.
And that film is like 40 years old now. It's old.
Yeah, it came out in 78, I think, 79.
Thanks for that reminder. Exactly. Appreciate that. Thanks for bringing that up. Why don't you give me a nice paper cut and squeeze lemon juice in it? Okay. So anyway, so these are my 2 ideas. I've taken some notes here on my legally proper pad here. 2 things. Number 1, the Trump administration, which has garnered somewhat of a reputation for cutting regulations, following up on President Trump's promise that he would cut 2 regulations for every one they initiated. I think they're actually doing better than that. But there were 2 stories in the news today that I thought were interesting from a regulatory and legal activism perspective. Number 1 was President Trump at a cabinet meeting apparently telling Attorney General Jeff Sessions that he wants him to look into suing opioid manufacturers. These are legal manufacturers of pharmaceutical opiates that are used in pain killing and other things. And number 2 is a new Trump administration order that once it gets through the proper, hearing process and public comment process, if it goes into effect and is not beaten down by the pharmaceutical industry, will require drug makers on their TV commercials to publish or to show on the screen the monthly cost of using those drugs.
Interesting.
Yes, and I immediately thought of both things. I thought, well, good, we need to get a rein in the use of prescription opiates, and number two is the whole health system would be better off if we knew the cost of things. But then I thought, hey, wait a minute. Somebody told me I was a conservative. Do I really want lawfare on the one hand and a heavy federal regulatory grip on the other?
It's a great issue because it gets us to the issue of you conservatives don't want any government at all and no regulations and no inspection of airlines and blah, blah, blah. No, we're all completely in favor of the smallest possible number of sensible and essential regulations.
Yes.
And so the question will be, are these those? But I think it's a great topic.
Yeah, pretty much anything that is going to make established interests that have what's the word I'm looking for? That have some sort of cronyism in Washington, and I think we can agree that the insurance and the healthcare industry are probably the biggest cronies in the United States. That anything that makes them squeal in pain is probably a good regulation.
Yeah, you sound like an early 1900s progressive, Steve, when you say something like that. It's like we've got to go after these big businesses.
They suckle on the government teat, and so do the insurance companies. The Medicare and Medicaid have the pricing mechanisms completely obfuscated. There can be no caveat emptor when you can't get any information out of these people. And the reason you can't get it is because the pricing system is absolutely broken, and it was broken in Washington.
And completely opaque. Yeah, that's a great point.
Well, not to carry your analogy too far, but when the aforementioned anatomical
we're going to stop.
When the aforementioned anatomical component was proffered by the government, whose responsibility was that? So why smack the lips of the corporate sucklers when it was really our elected representatives who put it out there and basically said, "Here, help yourself."
Because we can't reach the government mothership. It's in high orbit and it's manned by reptiles, and we don't our rocks and stones won't reach that high. Yeah.
Do you notice, like, when I try to avoid going blue with Stephen Green, like I always use words so complicated, even I don't know what I'm saying?
I know. I had a vague suggestion of something dirty, and I couldn't put my finger on it. See what I did just there?
Yeah, I see what you did. I honestly, I almost never know what Scott's talking about. I just answer the question that I hear in my head.
I just mostly nod too.
That makes three of us. So then the other topic that I thought was fascinating is apparently Politico has been made privy to Nancy Pelosi's plan under the new Democratic-led Congress. And there's a list of, and I'm not going to go into detail on these right now, but maybe during the episode we'll hit on some of the highlights. But basically, she gave a list of maybe 5 or 6 bills that they would immediately introduce, none of which, by the way, had to do with impeachment, that they would get active again in agency oversight. But Pelosi said something about not wanting to extract their pound of flesh or something like that. I forget what the term she used was, basically saying we don't want to be them. And of course, them is the pronoun used to describe the Republicans. So somehow, whatever they're doing, it's not what we're doing. And then
we don't want to be backbiting, low, mean mudslingers like them.
Right. No, you know what this indicates to me, Scott? I think just last week I coined the term the Trigglypuff vote, and the Democrats have worked very, very hard to get a lock on the Trigglypuff vote, but at what cost in moderate voters? And so now they got to pull away from that.
Yeah, the only thing that would make a Democratic retake of the House bearable is the idea that Nancy Pelosi would be Speaker. I despise the woman from the depths of my soul, but she was Dottie 10 years ago, and she's losing her marbles now.
Well, and she's still raising more money than both President Donald Trump and, of course, Beto O'Rourke, Robert Francis O'Rourke from Texas. So she's still being highly effective at what they want her to do. The other things they said, by the way, were they would not a single Democrat would vote to build Donald Trump's wall, and so essentially they would defeat the wall. And It's funny. The last two things were, she didn't say it this way, but I'm saying it this way. We're going to push the old guard to the top of the committee structure. So basically, she said every ranking member of every committee that's now in the minority would be the committee chair. So
is she
basically
trying to tamp down her own base? That's eager
like
for fresh blood and everything. Oh, I love this.
And they said, "Are you running for speaker?" And she said, "Oh no, I haven't asked a single person to vote for me for speaker. I don't ask, but they do tell."
Man, she is sly.
But it would be ever so nice if I were to be speaker again.
Well, what Steve
on crates full of campaign dollars.
I almost did this topic, but Steve, you just brought up there's a woman in Missouri who is politically active, probably a member of Democrat State Committee, and she is pro-life. And she managed to get in the Missouri Democratic Convention's platform this past year a codicil that basically said the Democratic Party welcomes people of all views on that issue. Okay.
Wow.
There was such an uprising and a stink about this that they actually wound up going back and repealing that part of it.
It was like throwing sodium in water, wasn't it? That was exactly the kind of reaction you got.
And she was like, whatever happened to the days of, way back during the Clinton administration when we were going to make it safe, legal, and rare? I mean, what? Why?
No, they're going to abort all the babies with confiscated semi-automatic rifles.
You have a shred of humanity left, madam, and you're in the wrong party.
And so she's saying the Democrats, in order to broaden their base and to win over moderate Republicans and independents, should allow for an open debate within the party over that topic. The progressives within the party are saying the way you win is by solidifying your base and marginalizing the people who disagree with the core direction that you're headed.
You know, it's interesting. I grew up in Missouri, and I knew the state pretty well. I'd left there, I think, when I was 19, 20 years old. And it's very much, or was very much at the time, a blue-collar Democrat, suburban Republican state with the two urban centers, St. Louis and Kansas City, kind of bookending the liberal Democratic part of the party. And it was the ultimate bellwether state. Going back to, I think, FDR, it had voted with the winner in almost every presidential election. I think they missed
all but one
year. Yeah.
All but one.
And now it's arguably the reddest state in the country after West Virginia, which was also a blue-collar Democrat state.
Ain't that interesting?
And the Democrats have nobody to blame but themselves for that.
Nobody to blame.
Of course, they flipped California. We got West Virginia. Man, we got the short end of that stick.
Nice trade. All right, Sir William of Whittle, perhaps you'd like to host an episode this week. Fetch hither a glass of mead for Sir William.
I shall. Bring me the head of a pig.
A flagon of mead, if you will.
Please don't be flagging your mead.
I think it's our job to maintain a high pitch of hysteria at all times.
Fair enough.
So I want to do, this week I want to do Blue Wave, Red Tide. I want to say, gents, what happens if we win big and what happens if we lose big?
Okay.
Pretty simple, really.
So we're prognosticating about the actual form of our government and what happens in the culture.
I think what we should be doing is within the bounds of reason and maybe a little bit of hyperbole in there, is we should say, here's the best case if we win big and here's the worst case if we lose big.
Okay. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, what the hell?
Now that means that I would have to consider the alternative that I have not yet pondered.
Yes. It will require some thinking on your part, and I know you're not paid for that, but we will make a special, we'll make a special, we'll put like a special donate box just on that particular episode. If you'd like to kick in $5 for Scott actually, having to think on his feet, then we'd sure would appreciate it.
The beatings will continue until the thinking commences.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so we can't really discuss that one too much because, we've got to hold that. We don't want to tip our hand. So, Stephen Green, what would you like to host us for? In which? Whereof?
I'm sorry. I'm going to need more prepositions to end that sentence with.
I got a little prepositional quagmire there. Just kind of got bogged down.
It happens.
That is a request up with which we will not put.
Yes, it's a long, hard slog to the end of that sentence. Yeah, I want to talk about the box office failure of First Man, the Neil Armstrong biopic with Ryan Gosling that came out on Friday.
You're about to trigger Bill Whittle.
Did it tank?
Yeah, they were expecting 20 to 24 million. They hit 16, and it came in third, maybe fourth. And even if it came in third, the two movies that it came in behind were both in their second week.
So what were the other movies? Do you know?
The other movies were, the two big ones that just opened. Now I'm going to have to do research, Scott.
Very big, very good, very huge movies.
And neither one of them was a huge blockbuster. I remember that much because it's October. It's not a huge movie month, but it was a week opening.
But the traitor Bill Whittle did go and see it.
Yeah, I was going to say Bill privately confessed to me. Bless me, Scott, for I have sinned. And I
paid for a different movie.
Did you really?
Yeah, I'm not going to give him my money.
And then you
It's a
snuck
multiplex.
In.
Here are my tickets. I paid for a movie, and
they're all the same price.
I'm going to watch this one, but the money's going to that one.
Nice. So, what movie did you actually pay for, if I may ask?
Oh, what was it? It was
one of those indie.
No. What was it? It was God.
Behind the Green Door revival?
It was the most forgettable film I could have. What the hell was it?
I'm the worst at that. I've seen a bunch of movies in the last month or two, and I cannot tell you a single name. Right now, I couldn't think of a single name of a movie. The last one I can remember seeing is Ocean's 8, and the only reason why I remember that is because we talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
I'm literally going to have to look it up. I really remember thinking, yeah, why not? They can have the $30 or whatever.
And of course, we're going to talk about the leaving out the flag angle. But let me, since you've actually seen the movie,
I'm going to have a strange reaction to leaving out the flag angle, actually, because I think we overreacted to that aspect of it. But there are other things about the film that were good, and other things about it that were not so good.
Okay, that's in that case, I'm not going to reiterate the question because we'll save that for the actual segment. I think it was I think it was bad marketing. More than anything, if your audience for a movie like this is probably going to skew older, and one of the distributor people that they talked to in this whatever the Hollywood Insider article was said, yeah, we were aiming for an older audience, and they don't go see movies as much. But if you're aiming for an older audience,
they certainly don't go see movies when you tell them that their lifelong hero is essentially a non-patriotic, Canadian d-bag who doesn't care much about the flag.
Oh, this is going to be fun. All right, I just shush for now.
The reason the movie, I think, didn't. Well, I like to think that there was a boycott, and whether there was or wasn't, I hope Hollywood thinks that there was.
Well, this is. Did you see the previews though?
My problem with the movie, and I think this comes across in the previews. I think it comes across in the poster art. My problem with the movie was this guy's my lifelong hero. I saw the movie, and I didn't like Neil Armstrong very much.
Wow.
I just didn't like him.
Wow.
So this is like the human version of Batman versus Superman, where at the end of it you're like, I hate Batman and Superman now.
I don't want to go into. We'll save most of it for the thing. But the impression you got was they overhyped the vibration, and the noise was great. Just hearing the noise of the spaceships was fantastic. But all that happens to Neil is that he's and he's able to reach out and flip a switch, and he looks. I don't want to say he looks terrified, but he's and nowhere in here is the sense that this guy actually mastered these things. That he wasn't. I don't want to say they made him afraid of them, but he didn't. I just didn't like him. I didn't like him. There was nothing about him I liked.
It was weird because when the preview first started, I was in a movie theater when I saw the first preview. And the preview comes up on the screen, and I'm like, "Oh, I want to see this! It's like about the first man goes to the moon, And then when the end of the preview was over, I was like, "Yeah, maybe we'll wait till it comes out on cable."
Yeah, they should have called it First Robot.
Ouch! Here's the thing: Ryan Gosling's been a big name for years and years now, and I could not off the top of my head name another movie that he's been in. And I watch a lot of movies.
He's a very important celebrity.
He was in a great movie called Lars and the Real Girl, one of my favorite movies ever.
Oh, I did see that one. That was quite good. Yeah, that was touching
but
in a different way.
They made the case for Neil Armstrong was that he wasn't there, was that there was nobody there.
So he was just a little too aloof for going to space.
He was a grieving father who thought nothing who thought at the key moments in his life thought nothing about the daughter he'd lost in infancy, and other than that, there was nothing there. He was simply a guy who, when things got tough, he just walked off on his own and dealt with it, which I admire. But there was none of the. Well, first of all, I remember coming out of the thing, and I didn't, talking to Natasha, saying I didn't like him. I didn't like Neil Armstrong. He's my hero. He's my lifelong hero. And I realized when I look at pictures of Neil Armstrong, he's always got that little smile on his face. It's not a smirk. Yeah. It's just kind of like, we're going to do this. Yeah, absolutely, we'll do it. And this was just nothing but suffering and angst and stuff. There were definitely some good things. And I have to tell you, the not showing the flag planting didn't bother me because the whole thing was so sparsely done. It was really, really sparse, and there were some beautiful aspects to that. But we'll talk about it.
Okay, sounds good. Bill, you just made me think of a really good take for your question when we actually do the segment, and I think I know you're going to love this.
Okay.
Well, at the very least, the people who did go to see it were probably the people who wanted to see how NASA faked the whole thing, So you could just see the movie techniques, that sparse directorial technique that they used to give us the impression that there was actually a manned moon landing.
I have to tell you, it's 2018 and the age of unbelievable computer graphics, and I thought the stuff of them on the moon was by far the fakest looking stuff.
Wow.
Now, was it as bad as the GIF that I just saw, where there was two astronauts standing on the moon, and one plants the flag in the other's foot, and the other one jumps up and down, falls backwards, and hits the lunar lander, and it falls over? It's just a cardboard.
Okay, I have an important question, and this one's I think it's really gonna divide our viewing audience. GIF or GIF?
Good question. I've heard people make the case for GIF, and I think it's a compelling case. I call them GIFs.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say GIF because the word is giraffical. It's giraffical, isn't it?
It's not giraffical.
I've never heard anybody say GIF.
I don't think you should have to pick a side. I think if you want to use a GIF, you can use a GIF. If you want to use a gay peg, you can use that.
You beat me to it. You beat me to it. I was going right there.
Not that there's anything wrong with gay pegs.
No, certainly not. Ping. Okay, so I think that's all that can be said on these topics.
Jeez.
You get the sense that there's
more than needs to be said.
You get the sense that there's a countdown clock on this, that we're trying to. There's some guy behind the camera going like this. Stretch.
No, it's my conscience, my wee tiny shriveled conscience.
We'll be taken out and put up against a wall, and it's like 1001 Arabian Nights. We're hoping we can stretch it out long enough so that the Sultan dies.
If the way we can do this is in post-production, what you're going to do is take all the times that we talked over each other and just lay them end to end. Yeah. So that we're not actually talking over each other.
Oh, you just made me think of one of my favorite Dorothy Parker quips. She said, if all the girls at the Yale ball were laid end to end, I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we took you from the moon to Dorothy Parker quips. This has been your backstage pre-production meeting of Right Angle. And on that low note, I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green. We thank you for your support, you members at BillWhittle.com. Thanks for sharing this. Thanks for inviting new people into the family. And welcome to you new ones. Thanks for joining us.